yet. We'll see if they're able to make it happen down the line.
Even players like Gumayusi, when he subbed in for Teddy for the first time, I feel like he was just chilling, cruising.
He did log Draven.
He did,
which was awesome.
And he
did first series.
Didn't care too much about it.
Didn't win.
Was no.
Unfortunately.
Well, we're into the pick and ban here, and we'll see what the result of that is going to be. Thankfully, Nongshim have learned from KT's mistakes, and so we'll actually have a real game for Game 1, Skarner having been banned away. We've got a lot of just really scary champions taken away by T1 here. We'll see what the final ban is to come out from Nongshim.
For fun?
I think banning Cassante would make some sense. I do feel like there is a lot that is available for first pick, though, and Vi certainly standing out as something that Oner could be very comfortable on. Opens up things like Faker's Ari, which would be pretty scary.
Galio, is another
Galio
one.
is a scary one, yeah.
It is Cassante banned for fun, so that's good. Means that maybe we'll get some interactive matchup. Rumble Prio should also be quite high here, although that's banned away.
It was extraordinarily high Prio.
Banned away. That is interesting to me, though.
The Jace Prio, yeah.
Well, the Jace Prio makes sense, given that he's both flexible in build and in role. But the fact that, to me, Aurora in the games where she's been good felt so oppressive that she has been making it through a lot more, actually.
I think when she doesn't work, she falls kind of flat on her face. I feel like she does
a lot more,
Yeah, she doesn't do enough extra outside of, like, has a great laning phase and then one-shots people. I think when she is at that point, you're like, wow, this champion's broken. But I think you need a certain amount of extra help. So first picking it without knowing the composition you're going for, I think is somewhat dangerous.
It's really dropped. Yeah, in Prio, as you highlight, I do think with the right amount of setup, it can still be quite strong. And the fact that it's a flex pick, I think, is always going to be a really big win for really any player, but particularly for a team like Nongshim that have in the past been happy to do some weird things. As the Zinzao, I think Oner has looked the best on this pick. It's a pick that I'm still pretty neutral about. I feel like it's fine. It's very versatile, but it does sometimes struggle when it is put behind early on as the victor does come through.
It's so weird. Looking at the name, you're like, T1, oh, they've got Jace, Zinzao, Victor. This makes so much sense for Zeus, Oner, and Faker.
Yeah.
But then you see that it's Doran, and Doran does play a different style of Jace, you could say. A little bit more of the team fight prowess outside of the absolutely dominating a side lane as the Nautilus comes in.
Yeah, the Renata ban then comes as a, like Renata Braum bans, I would say.
I think
most likely.
Is that Nautilus priority a little high?
Too much, but they're going to be playing dive, right? So the other ban that they might look towards is funnily enough, Xayah. Because I think otherwise T1 might just slam Xayah Rakan. Because with this lock-in, Nongshim is very clearly signaling what they're about to do, which is pile in on Smash and Faker in every single fight, depending on who is stronger and or further ahead. So Braum would make sense as a banner. I think Xayah would make sense as a ban. Rakan, I wouldn't feel as good about. I have to see what Nongshim actually takes off the table here.
Yeah.
Because they probably then pick up an AD carry. They can also leave open. Okay, it will be the Xayah. So that does mean that Braum is still open. We'll see if that's something. If they end up going like, Ezreal Braum, I think, is signaled here for T1.
I think you pick away the Braum, put Nautilus top lane to deny it. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I'm game. Do it. Yeah.
Oh, you can put Nautilus mid. That was a thing at MSI like 2 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, we all witnessed that. That didn't go very well. As it's going to be, for us at least, it's going to be the Ezreal, which should come as no surprise. Otherwise, they would have definitely picked up.
Varus and Ashe both available.
Ashe Braum
crazy.
Is my guess. The only downside for T1 if they do that is that their only reliable engage is the Ashe Arrow, which is fine.
Oh my god, this is an incredible long con for Nongshim though. If they plan to lose this game and the enemy team picks up an Ashe or a Varus, you can first pick the other one.
That is the fearless way.
It's pretty amazing. That's assuming you have no bans at the start of the game, which unfortunately you do. That's Caitlyn Morgana as the option. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, this is something that's been banned against Smash in his first 2 games. KT made sure that he wasn't able to get Caitlyn every single time, as Keria is just cycling through some things that he could pick. He's probably going to land on Lux. Or Elise. That's a little bit more of the flavor of the month style. Gives them some non-committal sort of engage CC, throwing out cocoons and things like that, because there's not a lot of engage on this comp.
There's no, it's a big comp, right? With the Xin Zhao, I know that there is some semblance of team fighting in there with the Victor, but realistically, this comp is going to try to play through particularly that strong side early on. Doran probably going to go for the beefier tank build and try to play from there.
There's no way.
Well,
yes, there is. And actually, it's a fine pick. We'll see how it is going to go.
Well, wait, this is a situation where Wei actually should be really good. If the map is not in complete tatters, which unfortunately I think is what T1 is going to try and look for, what you have here is a composition that with that Hui and Ezreal combo can actually really punish the lack of engage for T1. They can obviously hard force by either Keria going really deep, Oner going really deep, but I think the T1 comp does rely on them getting ahead early. Fortunately, they do have Xin Zhao, Elise, and Caitlyn. So most likely, Nongshim is going to look for a lane swap. Neither Aurora nor Jace are particularly great in that situation. You know, you'd much rather be piloting a tank or something that... I think that's another thing that the Rumble does well, where you have a good amount of wave clear and are a little bit more able to contest for that wave early on. I don't think either of them are going to be able to do so. We'll have to see. I imagine Nongshim are going to try and lane swap, and we'll see what that actually is going to turn into. But I like the Nongshim comp if they can get for the early game unscathed. Which...
I think there's a little bit of like nameplate factor that you do need to put into it. I don't know whether like Fisher on Hui doesn't feel like the right pick for him. That being said, I just wanted him to play Neferi every
I was about to say,
really fun.
That's
more the vibe.
We're never hitting that peak again.
No, we're not. We're not. But T1, it is a very, very T1 draft. Drafting for lane has been the T1 MO, I feel, for like 7 years. And it seems to have worked because they're defending world champions. So let's jump into the Rift for game number 1. Ooh, some loud Nongshim fans here at LoL Park today, but T1, of course, very, very loud on their end. Wow, trading flashes. And who's got the Hex Flash? Neither of them. Lehens, you let me down.
Yeah, not going Hex Flash.
Where's
That's crazy, actually.
What? That is your rune. Oh,
even did go for inspiration.
Yeah.
Pretty interesting.
Odd.
We'll see what he ends up going for. Do you think that's a big win? At least not having access to the Flash? Both if you're playing 2v2 or if you're in a situation where Kingen will be alone in a side. Right now it is looking like it's actually going to be Smash and Keria opting into the lane swap.
I think it's the predicting a lane swap to opt in for not the lane swap. But what it means is that because this control on the bottom side of the map is going to exist, Jiwoo being already down here, and they can just go to the bottom lane.
Yeah, they kind of
fine.
should know with the amount of vision that they have. Oh, they do not know!
Oh dear, Doran going to be targeted first as there's hooks going everywhere. Flash out from Oner is going to get him out of dodge, but that means Gideon starts on red, and Oner is on his way to the other side of the map. This early game is beautifully crafted from Nongshim.
The T1 really did not see that one coming. You can see they're all out of sorts here, as we do have Doran now also looking for a lane to go to. Can't really go towards the bot lane, particularly with how much he's been chunked already.
And this was kind of like Doran ganking Fisher's lane, but Lehens finding him means that it's a huge win for Nongshim.
It's also just the tempo for the jungle, right? Oner has to spend so much time walking. Like, I'm pretty sure he'll be able to clear fine. I don't think that's going to be the limiting factor. But we now have Shove in mid. Lehens is just being an absolute
just wandering around
jester. And I think he sees Oner, but like he's obviously not going to beat the Xin Zhao. He can't really do. He's just covering for Kingen. And whereas Kingen has been able to just get a ton of experience again, that's mainly what we're looking towards.
Oh, wow. I think Doran avoided vision there on his way down. Could have been even worse.
And we'll be able to catch most of this. Do note, Kingen actually was forced to flash. I imagine Keria caught him off guard, or maybe there was a trap set up. Not 100% sure. I don't think this is diveable now with the state.
Yeah.
That
hitting level 2 as well.
Yeah, we'll see. They do have Elise, one of the best diving early game champions in the game, but there's no wave. I think they're just kind of spending a lot of time with a play that doesn't seem to be working out. And yeah, Oner is still sticking around. They are gung-ho on making this happen, Atlas.
Yeah. Well, let's see whether they can make it work. Lehen sitting at full health right now. Keria wanting to find that cocoon, gets it, but great buffer on the anchor. Pingin bounces back. Let's see what can happen here. They get on top of the Aurora and take her down. Keria repelling just to get himself out of the way as we're looking for a bit of a hook. Jiwoo fighting against Doran here. Doran winning out on that one very, very handily. But first blood going over to T1 without too much of a fuss.
Well, shame on me for overestimating the turret. Keria barely even needing the diving capabilities of the Elise there. Doesn't end up repelling until the very end. And the damage actually, I think, also kind of catching Nongshim off guard. They definitely had an opportunity there to drop the wave, leave the turret. So credit to T1 for finding the dive angles. Faker will spot the back.
Oh, okay. He also knows that the Vi is there as well.
Yeah, he warded over the Raptor pit.
I was like, Gideon, now's your chance. But I think Gideon even saw the ward go down, so he knew that it wasn't going to be an issue.
Yeah, it was pinged. Yeah, for Faker, if he tries to cancel and he, gets queued, then it kind of just goes down. So I think the right call. Also just really wants the back. As we now have TPs coming in here for both Nongshim solo laners and experience. Because of that, Kingen, who actually had a much better early setup, is now behind. About, what, like half of a level?
Yeah,
so
decent
T1
margin.
Doing a really good job of recovering from that early game.
Just keeping cool, calm, and collected. And it looked like it was a bit dire, but they didn't panic. So, now that everything's sort of evened out, the gold lead is approximately first blood. That's all that's really in it here. Maybe a little bit of change. So T1 pretty happy with how that one's gone. Gideon being able to pick up this first dragon would certainly help even that out. We've got 50 seconds until the grubs are up and available as Kingen bouncing around this bottom lane. And is still just taking a lot from these shock blasts that are raining through from Doran. Fish comes down to help out, so Gideon will be able to secure this. And then should also be in position to head over towards these grubs. And Oner making his way back out onto the map as well as Lehens and Jiwoo probably going to be under the turret a fair bit in this matchup.
Yeah, just need to respect the threat that comes down from the Elise. The difference with the Morgana lane, which obviously has the extra safety, and is that, Morgana Q is very slow, not so much for Cocoon. And even though Lux is pretty respectable damage, Elise really does just feel like, you're playing against jungle Elise, but she's in your lane permanently, which isn't very fun. In terms of early burst that she has available just for runes and her base damages. The one thing that is going pretty well here for Nongshim is Fisher's lane specifically will now catch most of this wave and equalize again, but mostly in terms of prio, has actually been able to allow Gideon to do stuff, right? The fact that they're able to get that dragon is nice. Does look like with the vision control, plus the fact that Nongshim need to respect that possibility of Smash and Keria sticking around. They will not be able to contest the grubs.
I do think this is setting up for a mid-game that's going to have some honest fights and skirmishes in it, though. And that's what we kind of want to see, because these two compositions butt heads in interesting ways, and the battle for neutral is going to be so huge. Just with the fact that Nongshim wants to keep them at bay and hit them with the Hui poke and things like this, but T1 has options as well. So will the shock blasts be landing, or will Fisher be the one that can actually dictate how this one goes? Mystic shots as well, like Jiwoo will have a fair bit of agency to try and make stuff happen, but then Caitlyn is going to be able to auto-attack from a lot further away as well. So if the Phalanx can be put together for T1, it could be really, really good for them. And we know Smash is a terrifying Caitlyn player.
Yeah, it's interesting thinking about how these early skirmishes are going to play out, because T1, I imagine, will just be looking for a pick with the amount of CC that they have available early. And for Nongshim, when they started out with this Aurora Vi and the really high priority in the early Nautilus, I was really expecting it to be a dive comp, but with Fisher and Jiwoo,
it's a lot of damage on the Faker here.
Yeah, should be enough to at least maintain that mid prio. But that right there is, I think, a good example. Both Wei and Ezreal ideally want to get multiple rotations of spells off. Like, Ezreal's burst is okay, but it does feel like the skirmishes for them, until they reach a good amount of items, are going to be kind of awkward, because if, like, Gideon jumps in on Xin Zhao, for example, like, he is not dying in the CC combo.
Yeah.
And Keria is going to be really hard to lock down. Smash has both sums as well as barrier, and I think his positioning has been great thus far. So I kind of have a hard time seeing how Nongshim is going to do in these early skirmishes, besides just trading across the map.
I think it'll have to take some heroics from someone like Lehens, perhaps, finding an engage that he's looking for, as Smash taking a bit of damage here as there's a flash forward. They get on top of Keria, true shot barrage, they're trying to burst him, and they take him down! You could see that was orchestrated by Lehens and Jiwoo, beautifully played to even out the kill score.
The level 6 spike of Ezreal. Remember that period where he just did this every single game and his laning phase was kind of insane.
Yeah, the first like True Shot Barrage Giga buff. Yeah. Oh, that was hard to watch.
Yeah, both it was a like Q AD buff and then also the True Shot Barrage. It was nuts. It was winning every lane. But that right there was somewhat reminiscent, and that's a big win. The kill not going over to Gio is the only downside of that. That would have been ideal, obviously, as getting extra gold.
The flashes issue as well might mean that T1 should be able to strike back as well.
Yeah, so in the short term, definitely a big win here for Nongshim. Also mostly equalizes the gold. Might make some of the setup harder, but it does mean that if they get another one of those and GU actually does get the kill, I think things are going to be looking good. So I want to see what happens here, because it looks initially like he's planning to go in on Smash, but then he doesn't actually get the auto off. Smash is able to get out. But the ult was from the beginning on Keria, right? So it was a really nice feint there, causing Smash to go back, meaning that they didn't have the damage. And Keria, I think, also getting caught a little bit off guard, hit by the point-blank ult.
And also was in human form, right? So you have to turn to Spider before you can then repel to buy that extra space. And they killed her within that time, which is
just clean.
A pretty small window. But Lehens designed Support Elise 6 years ago, right? He built her in a lab. Like, he's the guy that came up with this. This is his recipe. And so very capable of understanding the weaknesses.
It's a cooking show, and you're making like a beef Wellington for Gordon Ramsay, and he's just sitting there like...
He just breaks down the door and says, "No, I made this!"
Yeah, this is not good enough. What is good enough is T1's ability to just absolutely slam this turret.
Yeah.
Nongshim don't really seem ready for this. King might TP back, but...
I don't know whether that's a good idea.
He definitely can't. So I'm glad he didn't, but I've seen some TPs at Lostad.
Yeah.
But like, that's just going to be...
That should be just feats of strength.
It's going to be the Sandals going over to T1. It's not the end of the world, but the cross-map trade doesn't seem great here. It's going to be, what, like a plate and grubs? Maybe 2 plates, but still, you're giving up Dragon as well. I think T1 are going to be very happy with this.
Yep, getting the fancy shoes is definitely the main thing. As King in a bit of trouble here. That Flash Cocoon was gorgeous, but the knockup is going to come through. Denies some Q damage as well. And so Lehens saving his teammates left, right, and center. But Fisher, let's see whether he can be saved. Death Ray comes down, but not going to be able to do too much more as, my gosh. Okay. Smash and Keria now just get more free time with this turret. So the thing is, Nongshim are like narrowly escaping and doing cool mechanics to get away from things, but then they still lose all their stuff afterwards. So it doesn't matter that much.
No, the objectives are still going very much in favor of T1. As you're saying, we do have another Infernal. We've had a ton of those.
It's been a very Infernal-y type situation.
If it's fitting for LCK Cup, I think. That's kind of the vibe.
Yep.
You know, fast, fiery.
And it's got a Noxian theme. You can see everything looks a little bit like it's the height of summer in Australia. I don't know whether anybody else other than Australians knows that, but everything just turns yellow. It used to be green, not anymore. It's all dead. And so it all just goes yellow. And so it's a similar vibe, you know? It's got a heated up sort of theme. So I'm there with you.
Bit of harrowing commentary there from Atlas.
Yeah, I apologize for that one.
That's fine. Doran is trapping Jiu, or is it the other way around? Well, Elise is there, so I'm pretty sure that they have to respect.
Well, Lehens is there as well. Let's see whether he can tank up enough damage here to keep Jiu alive. The answer is yes, but Smash is still going to come up. The same situation, right? Yeah. It's like they turn up, and Nongshim are like, haha, we got away, but then Caitlyn's still there to destroy your stuff. They don't have enough energy to stop the Demolition Man from coming in, and he is going to do so. Still, Lehens and Jiu will be able to pick up this wave, and it looks like they have other things on their mind as Gideon could be in trouble, has to flash, but there's the flash knockup. Haste in the hole comes down as well as Gideon trying to taxi out by a Faker. It's not going to do enough. Decent damage here from Fisher. Faker is going to be taken down. Nongshim trying to get a little bit back here as Oner goes in. We'll be able to get a nice little knockup onto King, and an in comes Doran. Nice shock blast will connect. Kingan's in trouble. Smash grabs it with the very end of the Peacemaker, and he's not making very much peace with that one this game. Lahen's moving on over as well, but he's lumbering in a little bit too slow to really get anything done. As Nongshim, they're just doing less, and T1's doing more, is what it feels like this game.
They are getting consistently out-rotated. Feels like T1 always have an extra member on the map. It feels like they're playing with 6. But this should be kind of a no-brainer from Gideon. We just witnessed Keria and Smash towards the top side of the map. So, trying to clear the ward against the Elise and Caitlyn combo not going to work out. Kingan actually really nicely done there. Good amount of damage, but Oner stays very healthy. And even with Keria's Cocoon not quite hitting her, the damage is already done.
I mean, it hit.
Well, I hit Fisher, yeah. And also, it doesn't matter, right? They still get the kill. As Doran actually with really good timing there as well. And this is exactly what you'd expect from T1 with this type of composition. Continuous roaming, being ahead of the opponents in the rotation and looking for these continuous skirmishes as -1 for Fisher. 2k gold deficit at 14 minutes is pretty sizable.
It is, especially when there's like a 1 kill difference and a 1 turret difference, right? Like, there's not a lot of, like, 1 dragon apiece as well. Like, everything else seems somewhat even.
Yeah.
Except from being able to kill minions and be in the right spots and take plates and that sort of stuff.
There are basically 2 avenues, because I think T1 is about to reach the break point where Nongshim just never get to do anything on the map anymore. I don't think we're there just yet. And if Nongshim can keep the gold lead at this point, get the second item up on Fisher and Gio, I think this composition is really going to start to shine. As they actually do have both amazing poke, but like getting in a position to poke right now is just that they're not able to, because they have basically no prio in any of the lanes outside of when Fisher was able to generate something against Faker, but even that's now kind of gone by the wayside. So you just have Xin in every lane showing up. Caitlyn obviously outpushes you. Aurora has been put behind, so Doran is just continuously bringing the pain there as well. So like, you have a poke comp, but they don't know where the opponents are. You don't have vision control, so it just kind of does not a lot.
Yeah. If they were ahead, right, it's a beautiful seat composition.
And it
but
can come back.
Yeah. This is not going to help, as Lahen's going to flash to try and get out of the way. Keria comes down. There's a nice double knock-up to come through here, and Fisher's AoE is sizable. There's the crushing more as well, and Fisher answers the attack on his support. Now Gideon looking for an opportunity. Oner goes in and just takes down Lahen's. The fear is a little late to save him, but they'll still be able to give another kill over to Kingan, which I think is a big deal if they want him to be a part of this game.
Oh, if only Lahen's could have just pieced out. Really good turn there from Oner. Knew he was dead for sure with the rotation coming through. But this is the issue. Like, that play was winning for Nongshim until you look at the map. Faker even teleporting to just guarantee that his inner goes down.
Yep.
And that's going to, again, increase that gold lead and bring it back to, like, the 2k that it was at before.
Yeah, 2.5 now, actually. Pushing that money a little bit further ahead. There is going to be a Rift Herald picked up here by Nongshim on the top side as Lahen's finds the wall. Fisher going to come down here as Ju is fighting against Smash. I don't know about this one, Ju. He just shoots and he kills. There it is. Oh, Ju going to survive. Thought that ace in the hole was actually going to be able to do more there as the repel just to dodge out of the way. Maybe with 1 extra item, 1 finished recipe, Smash would have been okay.
I'm not gonna lie, I think, even with the barrier, I thought he was dead.
Yeah, me too.
But like between the BF sword and the collector. As we take another look here, T1 need to push forward. I think getting Lahen's flash was definitely enough here. The fact that they then chase this aggressively was a bit too much. Fisher is just there. Ends up doing an incredible amount of damage, particularly to Keria. Oner obviously does have his ult up, and then we have the TP come in. And then here, Lahen's just...
We did not need to do that, sir.
No, we didn't. Could have just made it out. His efforts were no longer necessary. But the real story is then that T1 immediately responds, gets the inner towards the bot side of the map. The kills are still relevant, though. And again, I do want to repeat, I do think that there is still good outs for Nongshim here.
Yeah.
If they're able to kind of keep the game in this pace. If they get another dragon, which buys them a ton of time, that could potentially end up making the game a lot harder to play out for T1.
And the scaling on the side of Nongshim is nothing to scoff at.
Yeah.
T1 also have great late game damage in Victor and Caitlyn especially, but Doran's still going to be doing a fair bit of work, especially with his Hellbreaker build. I like keeping side lanes very relevant here for T1, and that is going to certainly be that. But, like, you get an Aurora with 3 items as well as a Hui and an Ezreal, like, well, a team fight won't even happen and you'll be dead.
Well, it's particularly Hui and Ezreal with limited engage for T1. Their pick is amazing, their damage is wonderful, and I think the scaling is good, but like, how do they actually play out the late game fights without someone to start them in a favorable position for them?
Yeah.
You really are going to need to once Fisher finishes that second item.
Well, Gravity Field coming down, just trying to turn
Dragon.
Nongshim. That's going to work, but Dragon is going to be picked up. Nongshim with control of an area, also very scary as far as this composition is concerned, the way they can play it. So need to tidy up where they are on the map, making sure that they can actually defend a lot of these key positions that T1 have had a lot of control over. But T1's going to have to work even harder than they already have. They're going to be able to make sure that this is a guaranteed W. And don't get me wrong, they're still winning. But I'm starting to believe in a bit of the Nongshim magic. Well, they also can continue finding some good angles.
Yeah, Smash, even though he's in a great position, I think should inspire more fear in Gio, who's seemingly unbothered. Of course, does have a lot of safety with the Ezreal. The big test for Nongshim is going to be the Otacon. I think that's where T1 can also get the decisive lead that will knock Nongshim really out of this game. It's the gold lead right now. Again, it's good, but it's not going to be enough by itself. Because trying to get control of Brush, which is going to be a necessity, into Victor, into Elise, should be extremely tough here for the side of Nongshim once T1 sets up there. And T1's damage, I think, is pretty respectable, particularly once Faker finishes his second item, which I imagine will be the Liandry's. So we're going to have to see T1, if they do get Otacon, they can turn that into a couple more turrets, because the mid lane turret still standing is actually a big deal.
Yeah. And pretty important for a Hui as well, who does really want to be able to stand here and actually clear waves, right? It's been Jiwoo for most of the game, but certainly has been nice for Nongshim to allow Fisher to have some opportunity to pick up some minions and some money. And that is the 2-item spike, as you indicated to me just then, Chronicler, for Jiwoo. And the flash forward, that gets the flash out of Faker, a very important one here for Nongshim, as Keria also possibly taking more damage than he really wants to right now, as Kingan's able to get a decent combo onto him. And this Aurora just wasn't doing anything in the early game, still 50 CS behind, but is still gonna be Aurora, as it turns out, as this game goes on. So, have to be a bit scared about what Kingan can actually do in a combo. He has no fear at all.
This is what we need to see, though. I think this is how he does need to play the Ezreal. If Nongshim want to get the win here, as long as he doesn't, you know, get hit by anything and just
Jiwoo and Lehens are like, it's maybe we found Lehens' perfect AD carry.
Yeah. The more you think about it, I think we're still seeing them kind of finding what works for them. But that play in the top lane.
Yeah, you saw that play. That's when the insane minds actually align. And that's frightening, man.
Ooh, he done now for Smash. If Faker can get his, Leandro's done as well. Oner, I imagine, also getting close towards that second item. Faker gonna back now. That might be the opportunity for T1 to pull that trigger on Otacon, as Faker actually canceling his back there, wanting to shove out one more wave. Teleport's going to come in from Fisher now as his Horizon focus done.
So, looking for this Otacon. It is still up and available. No one's looked at it just yet. Battle for vision is what it's kind of feeling like, as Smash taking this poke damage is pretty good for Nongshim. Jiwoo continues to land these Ws because he's so far up in the lane. Not going to be able to thread these Mystic shots through, though. But you can see he feels the item strength that he has right now. Collector IE, one of the better 2-item spikes that you can get for a Caitlyn, but it's still 2 items on Caitlyn. Kind of want 4 before you're really happy. You're very happy on 1, but then it's kind of a wait until 3 or 4, and then you're happy again. Ow.
It's also the ability to actually walk up and trade is just not being given, as that is going to be the mid lane turret actually falling first.
The siege power of Nongshim actually rearing its head as Doran able to shove a wave towards that bottom side. Remember, inner turret is just gone down there, as those 2 turrets that T1 have taken, one of them included an inner.
Okay.
So, bit of extra money.
We have full item 2-item spikes across the board now. Supports, obviously, the exception there is...
Oh dear, Cocoon connects onto Kingan. Nice ace in the hole just to make sure that he has to run away. But yeah, you said it, man. We've got actually 2-item spikes on everyone. except for the sports, but they've got one, and that's actually parity as well.
It's the support equivalent.
Even, yeah.
It is.
Of course, all items are not equal and things like this, but it's kind of cool that we've got two legendaries for everyone.
Might be, it has to be.
Yeah, Faker throws this one down as King gonna have to flash. Does survive though, at least for now. My goodness.
Well,
that was a game of inches.
It was successful bait, as in that the bait got eaten. But there was no...
Yeah, sometimes the fish just eats it and then swims away. Yeah.
They're not going to lose an objective over it, but we'll see. I think Nongshim can turn this into the dragon here. It does like T1. I really like this, actually. Because Faker does FTP, and you do see Nongshim, obviously, with that catch on the top side of the map, then want to turn that man advantage into playing towards dragon. But then T1 now uses opportunity to rotate over, force a response from Nongshim, and like Faker's going to be back. Ooh, I think that T1 really got the better end of Nongshim here, and now they're spotting Gideon. You cannot use Dragon, my man. They are going to start at Otacon, and they're going to be able to get control of this Tri-Brush. Nongshim, maybe the bait was successful after all.
The problem is T1 needs to kill Fisher, because if they're actually fighting Otacon, he's going to do so much damage to them. Doran on a flank angle, he's going to have to flash. He has to flash. As Doran is going to discover the rest of them. Fisher flashes into him. I don't know about that one, but they do manage to take down Doran because there is that unending despair, or the spiraling despair, as it's said. It's not actually the item. It is the ultimate ability. They're just extraordinarily similar. So nice little pick off here by Nongshim. We'll see whether they'll be able to take the Otacon themselves. Looks like the answer is going to be no.
Yeah, despair, both unending and spiraling there for Doran.
Yeah, the explanation is still the same.
As he gets into the death chamber. Crucially, though, still not getting an objective. This, though, Fisher just in an awkward position there. Felt like maybe if Gideon or Nongshim as a team responded a little bit quicker, they could have kept that summoner alive, because you also can't really walk through the entrance. But that is a big cooldown that is now gone. I would love it for Nongshim if they're able to actually set up, and it looks like that is going to be the case right now. We do have Lands and King towards the top side of the map, and Doran is up now. Does T1 want to pull the trigger? They can just call the teleport, but I think they're too late. That's soul point for Nongshim, Atlas.
Yeah, this dragon priority that Nongshim are putting on, I'm really impressed with, because that is a real win condition for this team. They have so much damage. Like, it is insane, and they can hit it without a fight actually starting. So sometimes you've got these dive compositions that do damage very short range.
Yeah,
they have to go in to make the damage happen. Nongshim doesn't. They just do it.
They're going to give
Speaking of just doing it, this Otacon is just gone, yeah. So I feel like there was a good thing about the dragon, and then they had an opportunity to not just give this up. But they're going to. And so Otacon is going to be picked up. They do not commit to trying to kill them after the Otacon goes down, which we've seen a few times. This is still a huge deal for T1. They should be able to push up this top side, and we'll see what the strategy is. We've seen Otacon used in different ways here in the LCK Cup.
Yeah, on the live patch, which both, I think the LPL, I think all other regions are on, actually. I'm not 100% sure about LTA, but I am about LPL and LEC, currently on 15-2. You have to be a lot more respectful, because it's 200 gold instead of 100. We are not. So you do have a lot more reckless abandon. What I imagine T1's going to do is just full send it on Baron, and as long as you trade at least a kill or two, particularly if it's someone like Doran that has TP available, that's going to be a trade that favors you every single time. The only downside is the poke is so crazy. Not quite the Criploom done yet, not quite yet the third item for Jiu.
Lahan clearing wards here a little bit. Cocoon going to miss, though. That means that he will survive. In fact, the Shock Blast, the Wind Becomes Lightning, everything. Going to be missing the Big Daddy. And so Lahan's able to keep that health bar pretty high up. Doran going down low, as you can see. Faker moving over, looking for Kingen. Kingen will be able to go into stealth, be all right for now. And now the Hui problem is coming in. Keria looking for the engage, but the Arcane Shift out from Jiwoo is going to help keep him safe. Lahens goes down first, though, and Nongshim, they have no right to be here. And they are able to get themselves out. Thankfully, Fisher has a lot of abilities. In fact, way too many to remember the names of. And that line of damage, not going to be something that they want to walk through. It's now Kingen looking for Faker here, as he does a lot. But he may also just die as the ace. No, threats the needle! They do trade, never mind, they don't trade it, because Faker just goes back to the base for a little while. And so that will be the Baron over to T1. Excellent use of this Otacon to guarantee an even bigger buff.
And Nongshim just... We know how much T1 love their... Because I'm not going to talk about the Baron, right? The moment the Otacon was gone, this is what's going to happen. I think that T1 played out nicely, but again, they can play with complete reckless abandon. Faker also does a good job of keeping Kingen out of the fight. Nongshim can't really commit to this, even if the health bars are low. But I want to talk a little bit, because there was no need. I am 100% sure that if both Gideon and Giu, as someone should have taken that.
Yeah, Fisher probably could have walked.
Definitely could have taken that. Wouldn't have changed the situation again, but definitely should have. But if they woke up the moment that dragon is taken, T1 can't Otacon. And I think that Otacon was the way for T1 to get back. Now they got Otacon, now they got Dragon.
That's why I was celebrating for Nongshim. I'm like, oh, this timing means that they don't give Otacon. Then they just give it anyway.
Yeah. And now, I think T1 are firmly in the driver's seat again. Vision is being denied, traps are being set up, both Caitlyn traps and Vision traps. A ton of Vision available here.
Oh, look at this.
Gideon is going to get spotted.
Yeah, this flank ward by T1 is fantastic. They've got a teleport to come in as Gideon does manage to get in there with the ulti. Flash out, though, avoids the anchor, and down goes the buy. Fisher now finds the spiraling despair onto Keria, but he's not actually that sad. Jiwoo gets over the wall. Lahan's going to be taken down as Kingen trying to do some damage here, but Oner gets on top of the Ezreal, who flashes away and gets struck by the lightning of this Xin Zhao. And T1, they may just end just here. It's only Kingen left alive, and there is so much damage.
It's not the T1 Baron, it's the T1 Otacon that does Nongshim in.
Yeah, one little kill for Kingen on the back end, but Nexus turrets are now falling. Smash, 100% win rate here in the LCK Cup after his third victory. Looking absolutely